So, this is one of our special episodes where we actually incorporated all of our guests for the season. To ask everyone if, knowing what they know now, they went back and had advice for their former selves, what would they say?
I lost all my hair. I'm still thinking of an answer, so I'm just stalling.
Didn't realize how isolating it was going to feel to sit alone at a computer for 18 months and write a book about murder.
I would tell her not to be afraid to experiment and try different things.
Stop looking at me like that.
Clarity doesn't come before you start. It comes as you start.
Welcome to Fyght Talk. My name is Christian Young. Welcome to Fyght Talk. My name is Christian Young. 2020 Hindsight. So this is one of our special episodes where we actually incorporated all of our guests for the season. One of the things that I really thought would be interesting would be to ask everyone if, knowing what they know now, they went back and had advice for their former selves, what would they say? And the reason why I picked that question was I think that after you become an entrepreneur, there's so much that you learn. Like the journey of an entrepreneur is almost like growing as a person or raising a child. Not as difficult as raising a child, but it's very similar in some ways where, when you first start out, you don't know anything. You start from zero in a lot of ways. If you're lucky enough, somebody may have given you some information, but for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's really a fresh start. And there's a lot of learnings. There's a lot of different issues that may crop up. There's a lot of bumping your head, and that's okay. But once you kind of get through some of those obstacles and some of those challenges, you really understand and kind of come out of the other side feeling very enlightened. So what we're going to do is we asked every single one of our guests that question. And there's some interesting advice that you'll hear this season from each of those guests. This episode is going to compile all of those responses so that you can hear from a multitude of entrepreneurs about what they would do if they could basically write a letter to their former selves. Now, I'll kick off this journey and share what I would tell my former self, knowing what I know now. And I think that what I would tell myself is, it's not as scary as you think. When I first started my business, I was really nervous. I really was just kind of scared, for lack of a better term. I was leaving my job, and actually I had the business set up, but I had not done as much with it as I would have liked. And in this instance, I was not going to have a fallback plan. I wasn't going to be a parapreneur. There was no other income other than what I was going to have from my business. And after a lot of therapy, I can't even deny it, after a lot of therapy, I really, was willing to take that step. So if I could go back and tell my former self anything, I'd say it's not as scary as you think. There's going to be some trials. There's going to be some tribulations. There'll be times where you wake up in the middle of the night thinking revenue. There'll be times when you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to support my team? What am I going to do when X, Y, and Z occurs? But that's all part of the process, and you can come out of the other side. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to you hearing about all of our 2020 hindsight.
I would tell myself to talk less and listen more. Because when I look back at the biggest mistakes I've made in my business, it was from not shutting up, accidentally saying something or other, not listening more precisely. And that's a lesson that I think I still have to practice now going forward. But just sometimes, it doesn't matter what I think. And that's a hard one. No, it's this because, and sometimes you can I can ruin a business relationship because of some opinion, and it doesn't matter. Like, they're not there for that. And I've tried to be better at that, but like, that's hard, especially when you're younger, to like, who cares? Who cares? I'm here for we're here to work out. Like, it doesn't matter. Those things.
Do you think you would have listened?
No, hell no. Shut up, old man.
I would say I would recommend to myself that I cultivate more more of a writer's community. I didn't realize how isolating it was going to feel to sit alone at a computer for 18 months and write a book about murder. And it would have been really helpful to me, I think, to be able to bounce some ideas off of other people who kind of wrote in this same style. I wish that I had worked harder to sort of cultivate that group, like a writer's group, or find other people who I was more comfortable with sharing the work in progress. I think that would have been really helpful to me if I had done that. And if I were to write another book, I would absolutely be seeking that kind of community, because I myself am a collaborative worker. I do not thrive in just solo work. And a book is kind of at its core pretty individual work. So finding any ways to make that a slightly more collaborative experience, I think, would be my advice to my earlier self and also moving forward.
What would I tell him? If I was going back to start all over again, I would have started researching my own product development a long time ago. We're talking 15 years, at least 15 years ago. I would have already started that. But at the time, I was really digging into understanding the products that are out now. What are we being supplied in our neighborhoods or our local beauty places, and what Cosmoprof is providing then? At that time, these OTAs and things like that didn't really exist. It was really Cosmopro or beauty supplies. There was no in-betweens. So if I could go back, I don't know. In the beginning, I had a really good start. Like, I mentored under someone. I took a chance going to South Loop, working in a commission salon. And I learned a lot. If I could go back and change anything, it would be to duplicate that type of salon in its early stages. Yeah, that would be the biggest thing. And when you ask me that question, it gets me try not get emotional, because I know when I started with Julian at Salon Heaven and the stylist in that beginning phase, it was never again to be matched. I haven't been able to find anything even close to it since those days. So, yeah, fortunately, he passed away through a tragic accident a long time ago, and we were not able to continue and multiply that idea. So, yeah, I might have gotten off base with the question.
No, we appreciate your candor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say, run, don't do it. It's not what you think it is, but it's worth it if you really want to do it. There are plenty of opportunities, and don't half step. So it's like, at first, when you first start, you're not sure and you're kind of tentative, and you kind of half step so that you have a method of retreat. And there's something to not having somewhere to go back to that changes how much you push to succeed. And that's what I mean by don't half step. Go flat out. You're going to make mistakes. That's okay. That's part of the learning process. Fail fast, fail often, fail a lot. But don't stop. Keep going. You're going to succeed. So that would be, you didn't fail if you learned from it. So find something. Find a lesson in it at all. There's a lesson somewhere. And do something different, but keep trying to get to where you're going.
I would tell her to stay true to herself, to not give up, even when you feel like giving up. I would tell her to maybe take some business classes. I would tell her not to be afraid to experiment and try different things. And I feel like I'm focusing a lot on the actual art making process and not so much the business side of it. But yeah.
I love that question. One thing I've learned over my time, especially the last 10 plus years, if you will, is don't take yourself too seriously. When I first started practicing, I was a nervous wreck as far as, man, am I going to fix this person? How am I talking? Am I presenting myself in a certain way? And so I would get into my head a lot. And then in that same accord, that happened also when I first started my social media page. I would constantly be self-critiquing, the angle of the video or how I looked or how the exercise looked. And then as time went on, I realized, don't take yourself too seriously, because if you're providing good care and good education to patients, they're going to be fine. They're going to be just fine. And in the same context with the Instagram stuff, is if you're providing good, valuable content, no one's really going to care what the angle of the video looked like or how your shirt looked that day or anything like that. And so just focus on what your goal is. And if that's to help people, great. And if that's to educate people, that's great. But just focus on that stuff. All the other smaller stuff that you may think is important is really not. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's how are you helping your community out? How are you helping, the world out, if you will, just with what you're doing. So just don't take yourself too seriously.
It's a loaded question and a deep question. All right. What would I tell myself? 5 years back, 10 years back, or doesn't matter? 18-year-old Vikram. I would for sure say don't take life so seriously. I'll have all my hair now, which I didn't, and I lost all my hair. I'm still thinking of an answer, so I'm just stalling. While I'm stalling, I'm also trying to say something. Stop looking at me like that. She has those piercing eyes, scanning me how long can I keep waiting? I have things to do. What's happening? I have 100 million business I'm running. I'm not a comedian who's making $85 a year. Give me your goddamn answer. I would say have fun. Don't be afraid of what you want to do. And try to find what you love and focus on the process. Be more mindful. I keep coming back to mindfulness, right? And mindfulness quotient is becoming more and more important. Is that, that I think that would be the letter 18 years back. Be more present, more focused on the process. Don't be scared. I think you can do, it's going to sound very cliche, so cut it out. Don't be scared and don't think about what people are going to think. I think I used to be really worried about what people are going to think. And that's why I used to have so much stage fear. I used to be really scared of failures. And that's also, not to generalize, but Indian parents don't prep you for that. They're always do this, do that. You need to become a doctor, engineer, accountant, all at the same time. Three people can't be the same thing. But anyway, my point is they don't say that it's okay to fail. Before I even started the comic book, I used to run an online recruitment service company. I developed a website, crashed. It was so many failures I've had. I'm don't be scared of failures. Just go do and figure out it's okay. You can keep failing. But don't be stupid as well, right? Don't think that you can start a business when you're 12 years old and go borrow money from your dad. If it's what you want to do, but have a plan B, okay, I'll do this and then I'll do that, get some experience. So that will be my letter. I'll be don't be scared of failing. Don't think about what people are going to say, right? I think those are the two things I would tell myself.
Well,
I think the first thing I would tell myself is not to get stuck in the idea that you're going to do everything yourself. I think you really need systems in place to help you delegate, to automate, and just systems that ensure that you're not relying too much on one person or a group of people. So I do think that P3 starting off, we bootstrapped it. We were very thoughtful and wanted to be really nimble. But we did not invest in all of the systems that would ensure that we could streamline our workflows and that would ensure that it's going to be a lot easier for us to reference information. And I think for businesses that are thinking about scaling, like how those systems lead to you not having overwhelm, right? Like where you can have a real staged and intentional process for making changes. And all of that we know, like, hopefully leads to more profitability. But I would tell myself, Janine, invest in these systems up front. Hire yourself a Fyght club that can really help you develop an operational plan and strategy that hopefully scales and grows alongside you.
I have a lot. I probably would write an ebook for myself on what I would tell myself and probably just rules for how I'd approach it differently. The first thing for me would have been, someone said it earlier, if you're not confident about what you're doing, even if you have a great idea, work on your confidence before you start talking about it or even putting it out there. Because that's what you're really selling at the end of the day. Like, how do you confidently, how do you get people to give you their money? Is that you're selling them something, a vision that you have for yourself. And I think the challenge that I initially had was based on where I was in life and just in general. But then also me overthinking, trying to figure out how do I go from point A to Z versus just trying to take it A, B, C, D. I was really in my head about a lot of things, right? Also probably leveraging my career background as a bit of a crutch, right? Like, consumers want variety in their products, right? I started with essentially 6 unique Ankara kimonos that were all different sizes. And I'm like, well, how am I going to sell this, right? And there was a way to do it, but I just overthought it and then started to like expand too fast and take on way more than what I actually needed to take on, both in terms of inventory, but ultimately business debt, right? Just trying to debt finance through business credit cards and things of that nature without allowing it to slowly build itself, and really building the narrative, even if I didn't have the product, right? Mm-hmm. But the vision of revitalizing textile industries across the continent and being able to connect people to really authentic craftsmanship that shouldn't be something that is cheapened or marked down, but really we celebrate the artistry within it. And telling these stories across the diaspora and using the diaspora to lift itself up. That is a story in itself that people can really get behind and really are desiring to know more about, right? And if I had to start over, I would have probably started with the story. If focusing on the story, even with the limitation of product, I would have definitely started first and foremost with what I always wanted to be my initial focus, which was made in Africa, versus thinking about more of a global artisan type network, right? And then I think I would have found ways to pull people in who believed in the vision earlier, and gotten more help earlier, right? So it wasn't always me trying to figure everything out, but me being connected to people who were very willing to help, but just were waiting to be asked or, not quite knowing exactly how to lean in and actually help. Those would probably be the things that I would really think about doing a little differently. And I'm now doing them differently. But, if I had to go back 5 years, that's where I would have started. Small, steady, and far more focused.
So if I had to advise myself from earlier, I would probably say, trust your passion. Trust your passion. I think that more often than not, I know for myself personally, I get caught in self-censoring or all the reasons why it can't work, as opposed to focusing on how it can work. And so that I'm planning for all of these contingencies when really I only need to plan for how to make it work. So really just trusting that. And trusting that process. And then just moving forward with authority. I think Brenda said earlier how she's not an out front person, and I'm not necessarily an out front person, but being willing to go forth and share my passion about whatever it is with people, because you have to be able to build those relationships, and you have to share your passion. So trust your passion and then be willing to share it. Those would be the two things that I would really tell myself.
Kind of an emotional question for me, because I would tell myself that you don't have to prove anything, Brenda. You just need to keep showing up. I guess I would also remind myself that clarity doesn't come before you start. It comes as you start. And I would also, oh my God, there are so many things, but I would also tell myself that success doesn't always look loud or fast. Sometimes success looks like consistency, quiet consistency, building strong boundaries and believing in your own pace. Even when it's different, it feels different from everyone else's. So just keep going, keep going. That would I tell myself, I'm telling you.
That clarity doesn't come before you start.
Right.
Needs to be your social media post to promote this episode, because that is golden. I'm sorry.
What do the kids say? Yes,
right? That's a bar.
Right.
Like, whatever it is.
I've been thinking about this for such a long time. I'm like, there are so many things that...
But that's a struggle for a lot of people, including myself. It's like, I need to be clear. No, you just need to go.
Right, because you want to see it first. You're
like,
I got to see it before I do it. No, just do it and then you'll see it.
And you hear a lot of people, really successful businesses, say the same thing. So